Laura Rogers, and I'm reporting here from the Microsoft 365 Community Conference here in the Community Lounge. And I've got Caroline Stanford here. Hello, Caroline.
Hi, how are you?
Great. Are you having a great conference so far?
I am. It's been fabulous.
What's been the best thing about the conference for you so far?
I think it's an easy one, and you probably get it from a lot of other people, but it's the community, of course. Just getting to reconnect with people. So I've been with a number of different roles from Microsoft over the last several years, and it's amazing how many people in different parts of the ecosystem come here and want to talk about these topics. So reconnecting with people from my days in the Teams team, from Microsoft 365 more broadly, it's been fabulous.
What is your title? What is your role?
Yeah, we should start with that. So I lead marketing for the Microsoft 365 suites, which includes all of our enterprise offerings. So Microsoft 365 E3, E5. I also have responsibility for our frontline workers solutions. So for the Microsoft 365 productivity offers that we have for folks who are working on the front line, maybe just on a tablet or a phone. And then I also have our IT admin functionality. So my team looks after all of the wonderful solutions and features that we bring for the IT admin audience through things like the Microsoft 365 Admin Center.
Great. So you taught a session today. What was your session called? What was it about?
It was about empowering IT in the era of AI using the Copilot Control System. So CCS, if you've seen the acronym, we're working on the acronym. I like it.
That's pretty new, right?
It's new. We just announced this concept back at Ignite. Satya actually got to talk about it for the first time. And the way to think about CCS, it's really the framework of solutions and tools we have in place to make your IT deployment of AI successful. And that's across three primary parameters. So the first one is security and compliance. The second one is management and governance. So all of the controls and tools that we put in place as you roll out AI. And then the third one is measurement and reporting. So that's helping understand how people are using the AI tools that you've deployed. Are you getting out of it what you're investing in? How can you better use it? And across those three pillars, we're investing just a ton of time and energy around tooling and solutions to ensure that, as I said, as people invest in AI, they're getting out of it what they want to for their organization.
Great. I actually have a background as a server admin, SharePoint server admin back 20 years ago. So I remember that feeling of like needing to have sort of understand what's going on in the product and kind of needing to have that sense of control. So it's great that product has come out, and because I can tell that they're embracing it. I had a customer come up to me just yesterday asking me about it and saying, we need to have admins for our Copilot in our company, and we're kind of arguing who the admin should be. Should it be security, or should it be me, the SharePoint admin, because I'm creating the agent? So I was kind of philosophically debating that with him. I wasn't sure.
I'm actually glad you brought that up. We actually are building an AI admin role specifically for exactly that reason. So if you look at sort of the various things you might need to do as it relates to rolling out AI for your organization, to your point exactly, it spans a number of different functional areas. There are things that happen at the workload level, setting up permissions in SharePoint, for example. There are things that happen at the licensing level. You're trying to make sure the right people have access to Copilot. It's a valuable tool. You want to make sure you've empowered the right people to use it and really sort of get started with that journey. And so in many cases, we were having customers tell us that it was at they needed the global admin to do all of these different pieces to really facilitate their Copilot deployment. And they're like, you must have a better solution for us. And the answer is yes, we have built a better solution. So this new role is exactly where you are going, which is to really try and encompass all the different pieces of your AI deployment and have that centralized person that you've identified as an organization to take care of those tasks.
Great, that is perfect. So specific to the Copilot Control System, can you elaborate a little bit more on how it ensures robust security and governance? Because I know people are worried about that.
Absolutely.
That is very important for especially those roles.
Yes, absolutely. And as I was talking about earlier, the Copilot Control System really has three big pieces to it. And the first one, the primary one, exactly where you were going, is security and compliance. As people start to think about taking advantage of AI, it's, question one, if not question zero, like, can I do this in such a way that not only am I keeping my organization's data safe and avoiding any sort of accidental leakage, oversharing, et cetera, but also in such a way that my users are not taking things outside of the organization or bringing things from outside of the organization in that I don't want them to do. So luckily, we have a really strong foundation of tools across all of the various features that we were building before Copilot to grow from. And so that's maybe the first thing to emphasize. The Copilot Control System is not starting from scratch, right? So we're building on top of the commitments that we've already made through our enterprise data protection, compliance, security, controls, and infrastructure, and then adding on top of that. So a great example would be something like discovery, cloud app discovery, in the sense of there's a huge prevalence of BYOAI. I'm sure you've heard this from various organizations that you talk to. Our data would tell you this is everywhere. Everywhere. I think we did a study recently that said something like 75% of information workers will tell you that they're using AI in their daily work. And you say, okay, cool. And 80% of them will say they brought their own. And what they mean by that is that they went to some website, and we all know which ones, right? And they started uploading things and asking questions, because people see the promise of AI. When they know that a tool could be useful, they're not kind of sitting back and waiting for some master plan that takes 12 months to roll out and another 24 to actually get value. They want it now. And so in that context, it becomes incredibly both challenging and important for IT to, first of all, just know what's happening. Step one, what is actually being used in your organization? And that's where that sort of cloud app discovery layer comes in. And then building on that to, well, what do you want to allow? What tooling have we created for you so that you can easily turn off the things that you don't want to be possible, and then turn on the ones that you do? Which is where, again, we hope Microsoft 365 customers see a lot of value in enabling tools that already exist within the Microsoft 365 data boundary, that exist within our services, because they inherit all that goodness. You don't have to go buy a separate tool to secure the thing that you already have. You have those tools with you, and the Copilot Control System makes it a lot easier to find them and to use them in the context of your AI deployment.
That makes sense. And those problems actually seem very familiar, because a long time ago, it was email. It was people going to work and checking their Hotmail at work, and then issues happening. And so you have to kind of clamp down on what email people are using. And then you had other people in companies using Dropbox and other file shares.
I was going to say, you're going to say storage next.
And then it came with chat next. So AI is just another one of those things, it seems like, where it's the age-old problem of like, make sure you know what they're using and that you can control what they're using. So that's perfect. So how can our customers best use our tools and be aware of how AI and Copilot are being used to then adjust and improve adoption?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if we start from the am I set up in such a way that I feel good about how my data is being accessed? I don't have any sort of risks of leakage. Oversharing is a common problem. Then the next step is where you're going. It's like, okay, but how do I actually then get the productivity gains that I want to, right? So organizations that are going through AI adoption are investing a ton of money and time and energy. This is not a trivial thing to roll out. And so we've invested a ton in both usage reporting, so understanding what is already happening. So if you've given the access of Copilot to a number of users within your organization, what are they doing with it, right? And being able to drill down by group and then by individual to understand what parts of Copilot are compelling to them, where you see those patterns. So that's the what happened. But then beyond that, I think your question is leading to but what could happen, right? What could I be getting out of this? Right. And that's where we've done a ton of work around scenarios. And I'll tell you, I'll be interested in your feedback on this. One of the things that customers have told us is most compelling is building those scenarios really by role type as well as by industry type. So there's certainly things that I would say the vast majority of people would benefit from when it comes to a tool like Copilot. Meeting recap. Number one, everybody will say, I go to 1 million meetings. I don't remember what happens at a large or I remember, but
what was the point of that meeting?
But why were we there? What were we? I don't know. Were there next steps? There were. Hopefully somebody took notes. Copilot actually just solves that. I mean, it's such a powerful thing, right? And that is one of those sort of functionality use cases that is fairly universally applicable. But going past that, that's where we started to hear from customers, no, I need to know what my sales team could get out of this. I need to hear about what my financial analysts, and that actually is where things start to look a bit differently, right? Where we can talk about, for the financial analyst example, What are the tools that we have in Excel, for example, that can help you better write formulas, tune your formulas, visualize data, quickly create reports? Those are huge unlocks. But somebody who's sitting on a customer service line on your sales team,
they
maybe
have to remember to think to do that.
Totally,
right?
exactly. So building out our scenario library to be more specific to the user and what they're trying to accomplish and to help them see the possibilities of Copilot has been a really important part of our adoption strategy.
That's great. That's really important to get people. It's psychological almost.
Completely.
It's a mindset that you have to think.
Yeah.
What is a more efficient way to do X,
Yep.
Y, Z
Exactly.
just throughout your day? And then in the Copilot Control System, you can see who's using it,
Exactly.
what they're doing, and then you could probably take what they're doing with it and have them share that with other departments. Just kind of share ideas and things and internally, and then be able to encourage it that way, kind of naturally.
Absolutely. We see some organizations really formally finding those people, right? You'll have a Copilot champion or someone who's been tapped on the shoulder officially. Like, you're going to be the person who's going to help everyone see the light and understand what to do. And then we see a lot of places where that just happens organically. I know even within my own team, someone gets excited about something that Copilot could do for them or an agent accomplish for them, and they just want to tell people about it. They're like, look what happened. This just saved me 6 hours or 10 hours or whatever it is. And those sort of organic adoption stories and sharing exactly what you're saying has been a really huge part of the broader sort of adoption curve for those companies, is letting people share with each other.
Perfect. So I'm bridging today from your time that you had on the Microsoft Teams team. Can you share how the Microsoft products have evolved with the needs to manage the Copilot and the agents, the agents that people are building? How do you manage what they're doing with those?
Yeah, and agents is really the crux of it. So introducing Microsoft 365 Copilot, your personal AI assistant, we had sort of one layer of tooling for that. And that was relatively applicable across most of the different places that you could be using the tool, whether that was in Teams or in one of the Microsoft 365 app canvases, so on a Word document, for example. Adding agents is what's pushing us, and I think really righteously, frankly, to expand the tooling and the capabilities that we have for IT admins to make sure that they are really confident and comfortable with who has access to agents, what those agents can do. And importantly, if you are deploying agents for your users who do not have the Microsoft 365 Copilot SKU, so these are users who are taking advantage of Copilot Chat, which is phenomenal, right? Like, this is a included with purchase style benefit for any Microsoft 365 commercial user. Agents are paid for on a pay-as-you-go basis. And so, as you might imagine, first question, okay, how much does that cost? How can I put in controls to make sure that the people who are accessing those agent billing meters are the people I want to make sure we're getting the right sort of goodness out of it. I want to make sure that I have billing policies in place. So when it comes to how we're enabling it from a solution perspective, it really does fall into those big categories. Access. How do you design who has access to Copilot more broadly if they're in the Copilot chat world, but then also who has access to agents and can use them? We've recently released a ton of tooling in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center that lets you set up sort of who can do things by person if you want to, although that's very granular, but also by group. And then going beyond that, it goes into the usage and billing. So setting up pay-as-you-go meters, being able to measure your use against those meters, create billing policies. Yes, you can give a department a budget. I get that question all the time. I'm really worried about what sales is going to do. You can set billing metering policy by department, by group, which is something that just, again, inspires confidence as people start to go down this path.
It sounds like the Copilot Control System is going to answer a couple of the really common questions that I get asked about Copilot. Say, if I create an agent that has access to this data, then who has access to the agent? Do they have access to that data? And then another one is, if I create an agent, what license do I need to have? And for people who are communicating with the agent, what license do they need to have? So it sounds like you all are addressing a lot of those big questions.
Absolutely. And going back to your first part of that, it's really important to remember that anything you're doing in Copilot inherits the permission structures and the controls that are at the base layer, right? So exactly where you're going with SharePoint, for example, by creating an agent off a SharePoint site, you haven't suddenly opened up access to that SharePoint site to anyone who might see the agent. I know a lot of people are worried about that, right? Because we've been very careful in our tooling to ensure that the permissions and controls really flow through the rest of that experience.
Great, perfect. Thank you so much for joining us, Caroline. It's really been great talking to you. I learned a lot about the Copilot Control System. This is Laura Rogers reporting from the Microsoft 365 Community Conference, and you can get more of this great content at the Microsoft Community Learning channel on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in.